y'all, it's Cam again. So this is what's considered the Senate torture report, chapter 6 or video 6 because it's like a long one. I mean, this is called the report of Senate Select Committee on Intelligence Committee Study of the Central Intelligence Agency's Detention and Interrogation Program. Basically, after 9/11, many suspected terrorists were detained for extended periods and tortured, according to this report, or they were very mistreated, whatever word you want to use, considering what happened on 9/11. So I'm just saying, I'm not saying go around harming people, but sometimes you have to respond in kind, otherwise they're going to keep doing it. But let's just go on. So we're on page 36. This is still just part of the actual table of contents. I felt like it needed to be at least looked at because it's going to kind of summarize what each section is talking about. But anyway, so right here, CIA Director Goss seeks committee support for the program after the Detainee Treatment Act. CIA declines to answer questions for the record. Full committee first briefed on the CIA's interrogation program hours before it is publicly acknowledged on September 6, 2006. The CIA provides additional information to the full committee and staff, much of it inaccurate. Intelligence Authorization Act passes limiting CIA interrogations to techniques authorized by the Army Field Manual, and then President vetoes legislation based on effectiveness claims provided by the CIA. The CIA declines to answer committee questions for the record about the CIA interrogation program. CIA destruction of interrogation videotapes leads to committee investigation. Committee votes 14-1 for expansive terms of reference to study the CIA's detention and interrogation program. And then terms of reference, CIA detainees from 2002 to 2008. And then appendix, example of inaccurate CIA testimony to the committee, April 12th. Let me get this out of here. That is annoying the hell out of me. I hate when it's at the bottom. Anyway, so let's go on. So background on the committee study. I don't know what this U is. Don't really care. It says on December 11th, 2007, the Senate Select Committee on Intelligence, or the committee, initiated a review of the destruction of videotapes related to the interrogations of CIA detainees Abu Zubaydah and Abd al-Rahim al-Nashiri. After receiving a briefing that day on the matter by CIA Director Michael Hayden. At that briefing, Director Hayden stated that contemporaneous CIA operational cables were a more than adequate representation of the tapes, and he agreed to provide the committee with limited access to these cables at CIA headquarters. On February 11, 2009, after the committee was presented with the staff-prepared summary of the operational cables detailing the interrogations of Abu Zubaydah and al-Nashiri, the committee began considering the broader review of the CIA's detention and interrogation practices. On March 5th, 2009, in a vote of 14-1, the committee approved terms of reference for a study of the CIA's detention and interrogation program. The committee study of the CIA's detention and interrogation program is a lengthy, highly detailed report exceeding 6,700 pages, including approximately 38,000 footnotes. It is divided in 3 volumes: History and Operation of the CIA's Detention and Interrogation Program. This volume is divided chronologically into sections addressing the establishment, development, and evolution of the CIA's detention and interrogation program. It includes an addendum on CIA clandestine detention sites, and the arrangement made with foreign entities in relation to the CIA's detention and interrogation program, intelligence acquired and CIA representations on the effectiveness of the CIA's enhanced interrogation techniques. This volume addresses the intelligence the CIA attributed to CIA detainees and the use of CIA's enhanced interrogation techniques, specifically focusing on CIA representations regarding the effectiveness of the CIA's enhanced interrogation techniques, as well as how the CIA's detention and interrogation program was operated and managed. It includes sections on CIA representations to the media, the Department of Justice, and the Congress. I wonder if that document's actually available to the public. I'm gonna have to look that up. Okay. Detention and interrogation of CIA detainees. This volume addresses the detention and interrogation of 119 CIA detainees from the program's authorization on September 17, 2007 to its official end on January 22nd, 2009, to include information on their capture, detention, interrogation, and conditions of confinement. It also includes extensive information on the CIA's management, oversight, and day-to-day operation of its detention and interrogation program. On December 13th, 2012, the Senate Select Committee on Intelligence approved the committee study of the CIA's detention and interrogation program, or the committee study, by a bipartisan vote of 9-6. The committee study includes 20 findings and the conclusions. The committee requested that specific executive branch agencies review and provide comment on the committee study prior to committee action to seek classification and public release of the committee study. On June 27, 2013, the CIA provided a written response, which was followed by a series of meetings between the CIA and the committee that concluded in September 2013. Following these meetings and the receipt of minority views, the committee revised the findings and conclusions and updated the committee study. On April 3rd, 2014, by a bipartisan vote of 11-3, the committee agreed to send the revised findings and conclusions and the updated executive summary of the committee study to the president for declassification and public release. The committee study is the most comprehensive review ever conducted of the CIA's detention and interrogation program. The CIA has informed the committee that it has provided the committee with all CIA records related to the CIA's detention and interrogation program. The document production phase lasted more than 3 years, produced more than 6 million pages of material. Oh my gosh. And was completed in July 2012. The committee study is based primarily on a review of these documents, which include CIA operational cables, reports, memoranda, intelligence products, and numerous interviews conducted of CIA personnel by various entities within the CIA, in particular the CIA's Office of Inspector General and the CIA's Oral History Program, as well as internal email and other communications. The executive summary is divided into 2 parts. The first describes the establishment, development, operation, and evolution of the CIA's detention and interrogation program. The second part provides information on the effectiveness of the CIA's detention and interrogation program, to include information acquired from CIA detainees before, during, and after the use of the CIA's enhanced interrogation techniques, as well as CIA representations on the effectiveness and operation of the CIA's detention and interrogation program to the media, the Department of Justice, and to Congress. The executive summary does not include, and I'll let y'all look at that footnote, a description of the detention and interrogations of all 119 CIA detainees. Details on each of these detainees are included in Volume 3. Throughout this summary and the entire report, non-supervisory CIA personnel have been listed by pseudonym. The pseudonyms for these officers are used throughout the report to distinguish CIA officers in pseudonym from those in true name. Pseudonyms in this report are denoted by last names in uppercase letters. Additionally, the CIA requested that the names of countries that hosted CIA detention centers or with which the CIA negotiated the hosting of sites, as well as information directly or indirectly identifying such countries, be redacted from the classified version provided to committee members. The report therefore lists these countries by letter. The report uses the same designation consistently, so country J, for example, refers to the same country throughout the committee study. Further, the CIA requested that the committee replace the original code names for CIA detention sites with new identifiers. And then you can read that footnote if you want. Overall history and operation of the CIA's detention and interrogation program. September 17th, 2001, Memorandum of Notification authorizes CIA to capture and detain a specific category of individuals. After considering various clandestine detention locations, the CIA determines that a U.S. military base is the best option. The CIA delegates blanket detention approvals to CIA officers in redacted, and this is also redacted. On September 17, 2001, 6 days after the terrorist attacks of September 11, 2001, President George W. Bush signed a covert action memorandum of notification to authorize the Director of National Intelligence, or DCI, to undertake operations designed to capture and detain persons who pose a continuing serious threat of violence or death to U.S. persons and interests or who are planning terrorist activities. Although the CIA had previously been provided limited authorities to detain special named individuals pending the issuance of formal criminal charges, the MON provided unprecedented authorities, granting the CIA significant discretion in determining whom to detain, the factual basis for the detention, and the length of the detention. The MON made no reference to interrogations or interrogation techniques. Redacted. So on September 14, 2001, 3 days before the issuance of the MON, the chief of operations of the CIA's redacted, based on an urgent requirement from the chief of counterterrorism center for the CTC, sent an email to CIA stations and redacted seeking input on appropriate locations for potential CIA detention facilities. Over the course of the next month, CIA officers considered at least 4 countries in redacted and 1 in redacted as possible hosts for detention facilities, and redacted at least 3 proposed site locations. This is also redacted. On September 26, 2001, senior CTC personnel met to discuss the capture and detain authorities in the MON. On September 28, 2001, redacted, CTC legal sent an email describing the meeting and the number of policy decisions. Okay, this is just footnotes. All right, so the email stated that covert facilities would be operated in a manner consistent with, but not pursuant to, the formal provision of appropriately comparable federal instructions for the operation of prison facilities and the incarceration of inmates held under the maximum lawful security mechanism. Redacted's email recognized the CIA's lack of experience in running detention facilities and stated that the CIA would consider acquiring cleared personnel from the Department of Defense or the Bureau of Prisons with specialized expertise to assist the CIA in operating the facility. On September 27, 2001, CIA headquarters informed CIA stations that any future CIA detention facility would have to meet U.S. POW standards or prisoner of war. So this is redacted. Okay, so in early November 2001, CIA headquarters further determined that any future CIA detention facility would have to meet U.S. prison standards and that CIA detention and interrogation operations should be tailored to meet the requirements of U.S. law and the federal rules of criminal procedure, adding that specific methods of interrogation would be permissible so long as they generally comport with commonly accepted practices deemed lawful by U.S. courts. The CIA's search for detention site locations was then put on hold, and an internal memorandum from senior CIA officials explained that detention at a U.S. military base outside the United States was the best option. The memorandum thus urged the DCI to press DoD and the U.S. military at highest levels to have the U.S. military agree to host a long-term facility and have them identify as agreeable location, specifically requesting that the DCI seek to have the U.S. Naval Base at Guantanamo Bay designated as a long-term detention facility. Again, redacted, addressing the risk associated with CIA maintaining a detention facility. The CIA memorandum warned that as captured terrorists may be held days, months, or years, the likelihood of exposure will grow over time, and that media exposure could inflame public opinion against the host government and the U.S., thereby threatening the continued operation of the facility. The memorandum also anticipated that in a foreign country, close cooperation with the host government will entail intensive negotiations. The CIA memorandum warned that any foreign country poses uncontrollable risk that could create incidents, vulnerability to the security of the facility, and bilateral problems, and uncertainty over maintaining the facility. The memorandum recommended the establishment of a short-term facility in which the CIA's role would be limited to oversight, funding, and responsibility. And there's more footnotes. Okay, the CIA would contract out all other requirements to other U.S. government organizations, commercial companies, and as appropriate foreign governments. So let me go ahead and stop this here. Yeah, we'll stop it right here, and then I'll start back up again on another video as soon as I can. Anyway, talk to you later. Bye.